talk about the Cincinnati Bengals and Joe Burrow. This has been a very disappointing season if you are a Cincinnati Bengals fan. The team is 4-7 on the season, and when you look at their 4 wins, they're very disappointing. They beat the New York Giants, they beat the Las Vegas Raiders, they beat the Carolina Panthers, and the Cleveland Browns. Those are 4 of the worst teams in the NFL, and I would not be surprised if those are the top 4 teams picking in the NFL draft. Is there a chance they can still make the NFL playoffs? Sure. They will have to go on a crazy run and go undefeated for the rest of the season. But this season feels different. In the past, we've seen the Bengals go out there and start off 0-2, 0-3, and they make the NFL playoffs. For one, I want to talk about Zack Taylor. Zack Taylor is not a good head coach, and I've been saying this for years now. This is a man that has benefited a lot from playing with a Hall of Fame quarterback in Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, and Jamar Chase and Joe Mixon. He was basically given a supercharged offense. And you can say the offensive play calls, they're the reason why Joe Burrow has developed. But at the same time, we saw Joe Burrow be a beast at LSU. And the same with Jamar Chase. And we saw T. Higgins be a monster at Clemson. He was given great talent. And yes, he has an eye for talent, going out there and scouting and confirming that with the general manager, whatever. As a head coach, he's not good. And we've seen this in the past. Part of the reason to why I don't like Zack Taylor as a head coach, the teams always come out flat and they play down the competition. They cannot beat teams with an above 500 record this year. And they have always been outcoached by coaches like Coach Harbaugh and by Coach Tomlin in the past with significantly lesser talent. Yes, he helped them make the NFL playoffs and go to the Super Bowl many years ago against the Rams. And that was a phenomenal run. But Joe Burrow went out there and did majority of the work. Joe Burrow was getting beat up and sacked majority of the time. And you can say he was holding on to the football for too long. He had a historic run. He was the most sacked quarterback in playoff history. And he still went to the Super Bowl. And they still went out there and they defeated the Kansas City Chiefs. So I would give Zack Taylor credit for that. But at the same time, you have a Hall of Fame talent at that quarterback position. You're expected to go out there every single year and to compete, not to lose against teams like the New England Patriots in week 1. And we could say, well, it's week 1, a bunch of weird things happen. Why are you not prepared in the beginning point of the season? It has been many times in the past where the team goes out there, they're 1-3 or they're 1-4, and they're trying to find ways to go out there and win those football games at the midway point of the season, and they have to finish strong. You have to crawl yourself out of a hole. If you take care of business against those bad teams early on and you win early into the season, you can have some slip-ups here and there. Because when you look at the rest of their schedule, it's not the toughest. But at the same time, the teams that they will be going against, they can put up a lot of big time production against their defense. Zack Taylor should be fired after this season. I'm going to also use another example. In the first meeting against the Baltimore Ravens, the kicker did miss a field goal. That's on him. But you do realize the game went into overtime. Joe Burrow throws an interception on the day. You hate to see that. But at the same time, Joe Burrow was the only reason to why they were still in that matchup against the Baltimore Ravens. They would lose this game 41-38. And it's easy to go out there and say, you know what, the kicker missed a field goal. That's why they lost the game. That's why they went to overtime. No, that's not the reason why. Joe Burrow had 5 passing touchdowns to the 1 interception, and that does suck. But he took the ball out of his hand. And he went to overtime and ran the football 3 times up the gut. 3. Why are you taking the ball out of the hands of your star player, of your star quarterback? That's like Bill Belichick in the past saying, you know what? That's it, Tom Brady. We're just going to run the football. We're done passing the football with you because you made 1 mistake. You don't do that. And then we could talk about the situation in the second game against the Ravens. I understand Chase Brown had a fumble and everything went to hell. The defense was not helping him out. They got into yet another shootout and he went for 2. Now, I'm going to take over Zack Taylor in this situation. The reason why he went for 2 is because they already lost to the Ravens once this season in overtime. He did not want to see Lamar Jackson again in overtime. But why not make Jamar Chase the primary read on that 2-point conversion play? He wasn't the primary read. I don't even care if they're going to go out there and put him in double coverage. Jamar Chase was cooking them the entire day. Jamar Chase went out there and had a historic day, but he wasn't even your number 1 target. And you were without T. Higgins. You're throwing the football to your number 3, number 4 target on the field? And that was designed that way. That's on Zack Taylor. So I don't mind him going for 2. You can say, hey, kick the field goal. You can say, hey, kick the extra point, go into overtime. But they just went into overtime with the Ravens. So the man did not have that much confidence in his defense. And I want to talk about the defense here. This defense has been terrible all season long. They went out there and they lost to the Ravens, not once but twice this year because of their defense. They lost to the Washington Commanders at home because of this defense. Jaden Daniels went out there and had a career day. He had a historic performance. Jaden Daniels, a rookie, one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, was 21 of 23 for 254 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns. And he also had a rushing touchdown to add on top of that. The man only missed 2 passes. That was it. And you have a veteran defensive coordinator in Coach Lou. Now, in the past, Coach Lou has done a lot of good things, especially when they won that Super Bowl run. But they had veteran defensive talent. Part of this is because Coach Lou has been exposed this year. Another part of it is because the defensive talent just isn't good. Trey Hendrickson leads the league in sacks, phenomenal pass rusher. You would think other people around him would be able to go back there and get to the quarterback. No, that's not the case. Other players have not. And he's getting double teamed. Sam Hubbard in the past has been a very good pass rusher. This season, he's more so of a run stopper, only 2.5 sacks. Very good disruptive defensive lineman. But he's not going to go out there and be a game changer on the opposite side of Trey Hendrickson. And you look at the defensive tackle position, they're thin at this spot. You have Sheldon Rankins, BJ Hill, but these are not the same veteran defensive players that you have had years before. So they're hurting there at the defensive tackle spot, and they can't stop the run effectively enough. Now, their linebackers, I like Jermaine Pratt personally. I like Logan Wilson. Logan Wilson is a very good tackling linebacker. It's more so of their front seven in terms of generating pressure outside of Trey Hendrickson, and it's also this. Their secondary is abysmal. Cam Taylor-Britt, he'll have some good moments here and there. He's not a true number 1 cornerback. They were better off with Chidobe Awuzie last year, who walked away and he went to the Tennessee Titans. But when I look at Cam Taylor-Britt, for a player that has so much to say this season about the Kansas City Chiefs and Xavier Worthy, he just runs fast. He does nothing special. Then he comes out against Terry McLaurin and the Washington Commanders. Really, the Commanders' offense with Cliff Kingsbury says they don't do anything special. It's a simple offense. It was so simple that Terry McLaurin went out there and had a career day on his head. And he was getting burned repeatedly over and over again. And since that game, he's been very quiet. Shout out to Zack Taylor for basically telling him to be quiet and just let the games play out. Cam Taylor-Britt's not a true number 1 cornerback. He's not terrible. He's not one of the worst starting cornerbacks in the league, but he is not going to go out there and stop your opposing number 1. I look at Josh Newton. There's something there with Josh Newton. He was very good in the second half against the Los Angeles Chargers. I believe that there's a bright future with him in the secondary. Daxton Hill right now is injured. Dax Hill is basically a man that they put at the safety position. That didn't work out. They put him right back at the cornerback position. Daxton Hill, there's upside there. But at the same time, you don't have the time to go out there and basically wait on young players to develop on the back end. Right now, he's not good enough, and he is dealing with an injury. DJ Turner, I like him a lot at the cornerback position, but these guys are so young and they give up a lot of big plays. That's part of the reason here. They give up a lot of deep bombs. When I look at the defense, they need a complete defensive rebuild and a coaching rebuild. Let Zack Taylor go, let Coach Lou go, bring in a brand new coach and bring in some brand new defensive players. But it is a problem with that narrative because I just said bring in a whole bunch of brand new defensive players. You would think, hey, they can go into free agency and bring in the players. For one, they rarely do that. They did go out there and they brought in Trey Hendrickson many years ago. He was a free agent, came over from the New Orleans Saints, phenomenal pass rusher. But they rarely do this. The Cincinnati Bengals are not a team that's going to go out there and actively shop in free agency and bring in top tier free agents. That's just something that they historically don't do. And they don't make major trades like that either. They did go out there and they brought in Khalil Herbert, but he's more so of a special teams player, and he's more so of a second to third down back. That's it. When I look at the Bengals, you just paid Joe Burrow a lot of money, rightfully so. One of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. He should be in the MVP conversation right now with the numbers that he has. But Jamar Chase is up for a brand new deal. He wants to be paid more than Justin Jefferson and more than CeeDee Lamb. And when you look at Jamar Chase numbers, this man statistically is the best wide receiver in the NFL. 73 receptions, 1,056 receiving yards, 12 receiving touchdowns. How much do you think he's going to get paid a year? He's going to break the bank. What Justin Jefferson just made with the Vikings, he made double that. He's going to reset the market. And if you don't pay him, you're going to have to move on from him, which would be stupid. They're going to pay Jamar Chase. And you have T. Higgins, who was also up for a contract extension after this season. He's more so expendable than Jamar Chase, but T. Higgins is a true number 1 wide receiver. I have a lot of questions about T. Higgins. T. Higgins is a true number 1. The thing is this, he can't stay healthy for an entire season. And not only just that, the effort isn't there this season with the Bengals. He'll go out there, he'll finish out plays, and the next thing you know, he'll just take a play off. He wanted to get paid. He no longer wants to be with the Bengals, and it's a lot of reports are saying that they will be shocked if he stayed around. He wants to get paid, and rightfully so. But you have Jermaine Burton and Yoshi Vaz. You hope that those players can really develop to the next T. Jermaine Burton, there's a lot of questions there with him and his maturity. You had Mike Hilton, who came out and was basically saying, hey, no one's going to baby you. He has to mature. That's great to hear from a veteran. But how about you worry about covering the opposing wide receivers on your side of the ball? Because guess what, Mike Hilton? You have not been good this season. And they have cut your snaps because you have not been good in man coverage. So how about you worry about yourself instead of worrying about a rookie that is going out there and struggling right now to find his way onto the field because of maturity problems and also because he just doesn't have that connection right now with Joe Burrow. And the big plays are there. They're just not hooking up with each other just yet. I expect for them to build on that after this upcoming offseason. The Bengals have talent, but right now they're just not a very good football team. They don't have the right coach. They don't have the right defensive players. The defensive scheme is not good. And when you look at what Coach Lou was able to do in the second half against the Chargers, it worked out. Their defense played better, but you don't see those type of adjustments on a weekly basis. They did that against the Carolina Panthers. They did that against the Raiders. Those are bad teams. And the Chargers are one of the best teams in the AFC. But they did not make defensive adjustments against the Ravens at halftime. Matter of fact, it was the complete opposite. We saw Coach Harbaugh go out there. He made adjustments. Zack Taylor and his coaching staff did not. They're doing the same things over and over again. We saw what happened against the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles went out there. They were off to a slow start. The Bengals were up. They lost that game 27-17 because you cannot depend on Joe Burrow going out there every single week and scoring 4 to 5 passing touchdowns. That's unrealistic. This is a quarterback that leads the league in passing. Leads the league in passing touchdowns with 27 to just 4 interceptions on the season with 3,028 passing yards. They're not supposed to be in this situation. It's supposed to be the complete opposite. But this is why coaching is important in the NFL, and this is why management is important. Also, because I look at the front office with the Bengals, they've done a piss poor job of bringing in the right talent when they need the most. In the past, the offensive line has been the issue. That's not the issue right now. It's a defensive talent because you went cheap. You wanted to bring in a bunch of young players and hope that they would develop like how the players have developed with the Philadelphia Eagles. But that was not the case. This is a wasted year for Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and for Trey Hendrickson. And ultimately, the Cincinnati Bengals failed them. Zack Taylor failed them. Coach Lewis failed them. And most importantly, ownership has failed them. And it's been the same song and dance every single year. Even dating back to when they had Andy Dalton and A.J. Green. And you had those very good players. And Mohamed Sanu, you did not have the right coach in Marvin Lewis. And I hope for the Bengal fans' sake that they move on from Zack Taylor and this entire coaching staff and bring in someone new. But let me know in the comment section below how you guys feel about Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals and their current state. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. Most importantly, want each and every last one of you guys stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for the video, guys. God bless. Peace.